Hi guys. Thanks for sticking around for the Q&A. Um, I see a bunch of questions, so I'm just gonna start going through them. Sorry about all of the technical trouble in the beginning of that. Like I said, there's been kind of a uh, there have been some hiccups with the networking around USC at the beginning of the semester. I think when I was just talking about this with somebody recently, and it sort of makes sense. When the network was built, a handful of years ago, when it was designed and like planned for growth, even the expectation was that like every student would have an internet connection, but now every student has like three or four internet connections. Everybody's got an internet, like everybody's connected to the Wi-Fi on their phone and their computer. And a lot of students have like a second computer or some other device, like an Apple TV or what's the other thing? Chrome stick, Chrome something. I literally can't. There's like four competing streaming TV products, and I can't think of the names of any of them. Whatever, or an Alexa, or like whatever. That like everybody's got a bunch of stuff that connects to the network. So now every semester, every fall, our network gets hit like harder than it was ever intended to be hit. So it's it happens. It's sort of where we are. I'll play around with the hard line, and maybe that will get better. And I was seeing dropped frames on the XSplit side, but only for a little while. I don't know. So maybe it's a hardware issue. Maybe I overtasked my PC, but it wasn't consistent. It was only for a little while. Maybe something was updating in the background or something. I don't know. Whatever. Let's get to questions. So, non-game related question: how is Shiro? I talked about this a little bit last week. I'm not gonna go in depth into it, but Shiro's good. She's fine. I can't remember if I told you guys, she's doing this thing now where she's obsessed with the bathroom sink. She's actually like super obsessed with the tub. But she's not allowed into. There's two bathrooms, and one of them has a tub, and she's not generally allowed into the bathroom with the tub. But the other bathroom is just sort of always open, and so she goes in there and she lays in the sink, and it's gotten to the point where, like, I'll come home and have to visit her in the sink because she just won't leave the sink. And it's really, really problematic when I need to like brush my teeth in the morning, because I have to forcibly like lift her, like kicking and screaming, out of the sink so that I can spit in it. It's really funny. But I think she's doing well. I think she's okay. The rash that she had, the sore that she had on her back, has healed up, and doesn't seem to be giving her any problems anymore. So I think she's all right. Yeah, she's always in my old apartment. She liked the tub, but it seemed like a reasonable amount. And now I don't know. She's just like really gotten into this sink. Is it hot in your apartment? Some of the time it might be. During the day, I think it can be, and I can imagine that that's a cool place to be. But when we get home, we turn the air conditioners on and make sure that it's cool. And on the weekends, it's we'll be around and we'll keep it cool in there. I can imagine that it gets warm, although I don't think like, not dangerously warm or anything. The sink is a cool place, but and so I think maybe that's what attracted her to it. Honestly, she loves drinking from the tap. And so she'll cry for somebody to come over and turn the tap on, like just to trickle so that she can drink from it. And we do like frequently, but not constantly. And she wants it like constantly. And so I think she's just taken to like living in the sink in hopes that that she'll never miss an opportunity for the tap to go on. Okay, from of course Jetlag. Will you make sure to talk about dragons during your GDC talk? Jetlag, if I get to do this GDC talk, I promise you. I mean, I've been thinking about it, and that is definitely one of the things that I will talk about. That's a bullet point. I don't know if that's in the proposal, but it's definitely a slide in the talk. Thanarod asks, what would you like to see in future sticky notes? That's a good question. I'll say knock knock jokes, maybe. Because I think that would be a fun Twitch interaction. Because I could like actually respond to knock knock jokes on air, and then you could respond via carefully placed notes in the game. That seems like an interesting use of both the game format and the Twitch format. But okay, so let's talk for a minute about sticky notes. This strikes me as an iteration of a mechanic that I understand was present in the original Dark Souls, Demon Souls. Demon Souls was the original Dark Souls? Whatever. Like, in one of those games. I never played any of those games. Thano, I know that you did. So tell me everything that I need to know about it. But in the original game, there was a system by which it was essentially a single-player game, but it was connected to an online world where things... There were opportunities for sort of tangential interactions, some of which seemed super bizarre to me, but some of which were like you could write things on the environment, and then those things would persist for other players as they came across that part of the environment in their single-player world. And it was not friend-based. There was no sort of authorship or accreditation. That's a different word. There was no crediting. It was just anonymous messages would appear. And I think there were like filtering systems where common messages would be more visible, or I don't know exactly how they did it. I didn't play the game, but I understand this sort of general concept of you could leave hints for other players in the world, and apparently this mechanic is still in the Dark Souls games. I remember hearing about it in Demon Souls because it was fresh. It was like I hadn't heard about a game that worked quite this way before. But it was used as a warning system. So Demon Souls is a like brutally difficult game, and one that is sort of about learning its tricks, and tricks like literally. Sometimes the game will present things to you in a way that is intended to make you think one thing while in fact it's gonna kill you. And so the messages that could be written, which I believe were all like pre-written messages that you would select from. You wouldn't actually type them out. But these messages could serve as warnings when, like, you're about to stumble into a trap, or I don't even know, things along those lines, which I think sometimes worked in exactly the way that I have described, and sometimes was subverted by the player base, or otherwise, didn't work exactly that way. But regardless, I could sort of like, I get that intention. I get like the purpose of that mechanic. It's very much about creating a sense of community around a game that is intentionally stupid hard. In Quadrilateral Cowboy is not the same game. It is much more of a puzzle game than a what is that? Like a action prank game. It's not a game that is going out of its way to kill you. In fact, I mean, it didn't draw the kind of attention to no clip that maybe I thought would have been useful. But the fact that there's a no clip mode, like right there, that is a feature that's put into the game to that is the opposite of Demon Souls. Like, that is the opposite of the intentionality of a game like Demon Souls. It's a function, it's a feature, it's a mechanic that lets you explore the map without consequence, so that you are not surprised when you turn a corner or open a door and there's something there. So obviously, I mean, we can tell just by the tools that it gives us that this is not trying to be Demon Souls. And it's also like it's structured very differently. It's really about these puzzles. Now, the puzzles are speedrun puzzles. Like, there's a very clear framework for compete against your friends to complete the puzzles as fast as possible. I'm trying to work out how this would happen. So there's the potential, at least, for, hey, I discovered a trick. Like, hey, in the first level of the bank job, Astronaut, or whatever it is, so what if I leave sticky notes everywhere, but only use Dark Souls pre-generated message fragments to construct them? I like that. That seems like an art piece, Thano. That seems like you should apply for NEA funding for that. So the bank job, the first part of the bank job, I just like pushed the safe off of the thing onto the platform where it goes, and if I was following chat at all, which I probably wasn't, that's not necessarily how everybody played that. Like, maybe you would have used the launcher there to get it down, or I don't know, I actually am not sure. But like, if I figured out something that helped me get a faster time, which obviously I didn't, but if I went back and played it again with the aim of getting a faster time, maybe I could, then I could see that I got a significantly faster time than all of my friends, and leave a sticky note telling them how to get a faster time. Or if I see that somebody has gotten a significantly faster time than me, I could leave a sticky note on their game asking them how they did it. But then there's no notification that like they've received that and replied. So I just have to go and check the level over and over again, and it would be like way easier for me to just tweet them and say like, hey, how'd you beat that level so fast? So that doesn't seem like a really viable user experience flow for sticky notes. I'm honestly struggling. I'm trying to come up with like what's the thought process behind that. It sort of calls attention to the fact that this is a virtual world, because even though I'm playing in it alone, it's somehow connected to other people who are also playing it, and we can leave each other messages. We can just leave each other funny messages because it's this sort of virtual space. But that like kind of seriously undermines the narrative of I'm using this software to plan and perhaps execute ridiculous heists. So why would I be sharing it with a like abstract global network of friends like that? I don't. That's really weird. I'm kind of at a loss. They're cool. I like them. There's no real reason for them not to be there. It means that my experience playing the game, and especially playing the game multiple times, is enriched by having friends who also play the game. So maybe that'll help me encourage my friends to download this cool game. But other than that, I don't know. It's weird. I'm not sure that they serve like an actual purpose within the context of the game and what the game is trying to do. Maybe your friends are the people who are working on the heist with you. Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's not impossible. I will also say that, like, I feel like my relationship with those characters is particularly strained. Like, I really don't get who they are. I really don't have a great sense of why I couldn't just be doing this on my own. I mean, all of the heists I'm just doing on my own, right? Like, I am not planning any heists that require 3 people. They're all like solo activities. So again, maybe we're not planning them for us, we're planning them for someone else, and these are my software developer friends, and I am the heistmeister. I like that. Heistmeister. And that's what I bring to the team, and also mad badminton skills. But I don't know, that seems strange. I mean, it just seems weird. It's weird that I don't know them better. And I feel a little bit like, you know, it's interesting. I'm in teaching a class. I'm an instructor in a class that is doing like intense development of games, semester or year-long game development. And there are a couple of the games that are kind of suffering from this interesting narrativist problem, where they've created a world and they've created some characters, and the characters are designed to be really interesting within the world, to be sort of like quirky and complex, and not cardboard, and like to really be sort of detailed and not stereotypical and not, you know, what you would expect. But the games are like 5 minutes long. I mean, like, they're working on games that will have maybe not 5 minutes, but maybe like 10 minutes of gameplay at the end of the year, because that's sort of what you can create with those kinds of resources in that kind of period of time. And so there's not enough room within the context of the game to give me a sense of the depth of those characters. So the characters just come off as like not understandable, as kind of gibberish. And the narrative of the game would be better if the characters were less complex, if they were more stereotypical, if they were just cardboard characters who were sort of exactly what you expected, if they just filled out the roles, then yeah, there's not like depth to that narrative, but you also don't have to explain it. Like, I get it. There's shorthand. I just like understand it immediately. And I sort of feel like every time we go back to these characters, they're doing different things. They're like doing pull-ups or reading a book, or like, I don't even remember some of the activities that they got up to, because there's not an obvious connection between them. And I can't just stereotype them as like, hey, this person with the like the buzz cut and the wrench on their t-shirt is the machinery person, and they're always working on machinery and they're always tinkering with something, and like, I get that guy or girl or whoever it is. I think we might be an all-female heist team. I think we might like be like VR coder thief women. I don't know. It's not totally clear to me. I'm not sure. That's sort of the impression that I get. Doesn't matter. None of this matters. None of that has any bearing on what I'm talking about. But like, if there was one characteristic that everything around the design of the character focused on, then yeah, that would be a super flat, uninteresting character. But I would immediately understand who they are and what their role is, and I would relate to them better. Like, I would draw them into my story more, without any need for exposition. Whereas the problem with like complicated characters is that you need to characterize them, and that requires you to spend time on parts of the game that are presumably not the game. So this is a problem that I think some of my students are having right now, and it's early in their process, and it's fine. It's going to work out. They're going to figure it out. But I kind of feel like this is a problem that this game has, and I don't think it's a problem that Blendo commonly has. And I'm not sure if that is because this game is gamier than 30 Flights of Loving, or if these characters are intended to be more, three-dimensional than the characters in 30 Flights, or I don't know. I'm not sure what the root cause of that is. It's probably a combination of several things, but I definitely feel like, yeah, I'm in a gang. There are two other girls in this gang. I guess, like, that's our gang. I'm in a gang because that's what I am, I guess. I mean, like, I just don't have it removes me from the narrative. It removes me from the world. It causes me to lose investment, which is weird. And then, I know we were talking about the badminton. Can we talk about the random badminton? Yeah. I mean, it felt super random. I think, here's what I think. I think that eventually shit is going to go wrong. And in this carefully constructed world that is carefully constructed so that there are no consequences to any of the bad things that we're doing, to the point where, like, it's not even clear to me how bad are the things that we're doing. Are we just running simulations about burglaries, or are we actually then off-screen committing the burglaries? Not sure. Don't know. This world is like, I'm so distanced from the possible consequences of anything that I do, by like layers of mediation, by layers of simulation, by the editing, that I think there's going to be a turn. I think in some clever way, this sort of like progression of puzzles at some point is going to turn into, oh God, no. Now we are actually physically, bodily threatened. And then I'm going to have to sacrifice one of my friends, or they're going to sacrifice themselves for me, or I'm going to sacrifice myself for them, or they're just going to get killed and like I'm going to have to move on, or one of them is going to turn out to be a police officer who like turns us all in. I don't know. Something is going to happen with regards to the dynamic between me and these other characters, and I am supposed at that point to care about them, because not only have I spent time in this game planning heists, but I have also spent time like picking folks up from their shitty apartment buildings and playing badminton with them on rooftops and watching them work out and read books. And I'm really concerned that that is not going to have the effect that it's intended to have. Because right now, like, all of the badminton that I've played, I still don't care about these characters. I still honestly can't really distinguish them from one another. There's one that has brown hair and one that doesn't. And I think maybe... Do I like the one who doesn't more? I picked up the one with the brown hair at least once, but I played badminton, I think, with the other one. I don't know. I have no connection to these characters. So if the game attempts to use them the way that I expect it to, I think it's going to go badly. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to be left with the question of like, why were they even around? Were they totally necessary? And on the one hand, that's a shame, because we have too many games that are about loners. Just like we have too many movies about loners. Just like every Dungeons and Dragons campaign is about, you know, a group of sociopathic orphans. Stories, especially genre fiction stories that are about families or connected individuals. I think that's something that we're fundamentally missing in our culture. Not missing, but is underrepresented in our culture. And so I applaud a game that is trying to tell that kind of story with characters in it. I just don't think it's doing it effectively, which is sad, because I really feel like that's a part of this game that that Quadrilateral Cowboy is falling down on. While like the bulk of the experience of the game is fantastic. I love actually the heist planning stuff. I love it. So, you know, this definitely is like an ancillary bit, but it's I don't know. I feel like it's not as well done, but maybe it's going to surprise me. Maybe maybe I'm anticipating this like all wrong. Okay, it's 9:30. Wait, let me just see. Is there Jason asked a question about what is disorienting in the game and why do you feel disoriented by it? Oh, in specifically with regards to like badminton. Yeah, so that's where I am. I think that there's a bunch of stuff that this game is doing that I think is serving a narrative purpose and it's not serving it well, and that's what I find disorienting. Eve asked the question that I need to answer and am not prepared to. So concretely, how has play-by-play changed your ways of teaching in an academic setting? I wish that I had some really good examples of concrete ways that it changed, or concrete examples of it changing my way of teaching. Um, I think that it has absolutely changed my comfort teaching and talking in ways that are really important, in ways that I find valuable. Talking to students about their own games and about game design in general. Um, it's definitely increased my confidence in my ability to answer the kinds of questions that they have, and therefore to be much more welcoming of those kinds of questions. Um, I have a lot more practice now in a friendly, informal, sort of low pressure environment, being asked questions that I don't have an immediate answer for. And I think that, when I started teaching, I've always, I mean, I've always liked teaching and I've always been fairly comfortable standing up in front of people talking, but I definitely feel like starting out teaching, there was an element of, as the instructor, I should be like conveying knowledge. I should be passing it out, which means that I should have it. I should have all of the answers, and then just be like distributing that to students. Which is sometimes the case. Like there are definitely things that I have specific experience with. I mean, the whole like technical side of things aside, where there often are concrete answers to specific questions. When we're talking about design, we're often talking about either subjective experience or sort of learned best practice. And sometimes I have sometimes I have direct experience that I know best practice that I can just sort of give to people, and sometimes I have enough experience with the some specific topic or element of design that I can sort of state things relatively unequivocally, but a lot of the time, it's questions about how do I fix this thing? Okay, so we challenge our students like a lot, and one of the things that we do, one of the things that we're doing right now is students have to create board games that elicit specific emotions. And so this is something that on the one hand is sort of like really easy to judge. You play the game, and then if you feel the emotion, then congrats, A+, you did it. You succeeded at your task. And if you don't, then no, it is not done. Go back and try again. Like that's pretty straightforward. But with some of these, complicated emotions of making the player feel introspective or nostalgic or sadistic, or a sense of awe, right? Like some of these are really complicated emotions, and it's hard to it is less useful to say like, hey, this just doesn't work, than to be able to point at specific things that aren't working and offer suggestions for what might work. And one of the things that I think play-by-play has given me is a lot of opportunities to practice that kind of analysis, right? So it's not changing my ways of teaching, but it is changing sort of my ability to execute on my methodology. And then I guess what I was saying is that like I'm open to this idea of hey, there are questions of design that, because they are so specific and so subjective, are open at this moment. I don't have answers for you, so let's explore them together. And I think that I am, I'm more open to that, and I project that. I think that I think that students are more willing to ask me those kinds of questions because I'm more open to being asked those kinds of questions. But that's subtle. Like that's not. It's not really a ways of teaching. I mean, if I had like realized 6 months ago that this was viable, and then I would have started planning this talk then. And I would have thought maybe a little bit more about concrete ways that I could implement this in a classroom. I don't really have students use Twitch in assignments. I could, but frankly, there's not time. It is still not like... it's not a thing that's been right for any of the classes that I've taught in the last 2 years. Now that said, I think that part of why I think this is a valuable GDC talk, potential GDC talk, is that this is a really important platform, and there are opportunities to bring it into the classroom in some classes, and that teachers will not take those opportunities if they're not aware of and familiar with the platform. And in addition to that, I think both educators are missing out on a way of understanding and relating to their students today, and students are missing out on a platform for making games because their teachers don't sort of promote it, I guess, as an option. But one of my student groups this year, is making a Twitch game, and I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to play it with you guys. It's going to be really, really fun. I don't think like that's happening at a lot of design schools. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm mistaken. But I think that like that's something that a lot of student designers could tackle. But a lot of teachers aren't really aware of or thinking about as a valid, viable platform for game design. So it's also a great platform for para education, as Jason says. Yeah. And that's definitely part of like my secret agenda behind this talk is, I would really love to create a subculture in Twitch that is academically focused. I think that would be amazing. I don't know how well that sells the talk, because I think people who are coming to this, who are in this who are in the education track at GDC, are really interested in ways that they can improve their own practice and ways that they can benefit their students. And I think that the idea of forming communities of learning outside of the organizations in which we are paid to teach is also super cool and fun and important. But nobody's paid to do that. And so I think that's a lower priority for everybody than the other two. So I don't know. I'm not sure how to sell that part. Except if I actually get the talk, then I'll sell it. Yes. Okay. So Avalar asked if they can send me an email. Send me a tweet, and we can DM. We can do some direct message on Twitter. That's the best way to do that. Can I show you dope ass things on the bookshelf? Not tonight, maybe next week. There's some cool stuff over there though. Can we talk about random badminton more? Not tonight. I'm curious to see what the game does with it. If there's more badminton, which I doubt, or if there are more similar scenes, which I absolutely expect. Makeup and prop folks for classic Doctor Who. Oh, makeup and prop folks for classic Doctor Who have said to make credible monsters one needs eyes and mouths that are believable. Everything else works if those work. What makes credible characters, voice acting, motivation, costumes? Good question. Ask that again next week. Has it made you disappointed by how your students aren't as cool as us? No, I love my students, but it's a shame that they're not as cool as you. Okay, and so then the last thing that I want to do before I sign off, a really good friend of mine, Mike Sennett, and I don't know if he's still working with other designers as part of his company, but at least I know that he is the sort of driving force behind this. He just put up a Kickstarter for a game called Astronaut the Best. I have not played this yet, although I am going to talk to Mike about whether or not I can get a copy, like a preview copy. But he is a great designer and a great programmer, and a really clever dude. He's one of the people behind Space Wolves, if you remember Space Wolves, and also a bunch of other like really funny, clever games. Astronaut the Best, as far as I can tell, is a strategic narrative game. So it's a strategy game that is focused on storytelling about really terrible astronauts, and your attempt to make them look as good as possible while they're astronauting, because you don't want to be shown up by other astronauts, because you want to be the best. That is sort of my understanding of the game. They've got a fantastic Kickstarter page. Go check it out. Also, let me plug another one of my friends, one of my classmates from USC, has a board game that just launched on Kickstarter called oh shit, what's it called? Political something. It's a political strategy game. Card game. It's like a card game about politics, featuring actual politicians. And the idea behind it, I'm looking this up right now. It's called Special Committee. Special Committee is the name. That's also on Kickstarter. The idea behind it is that it's a game, like it's a strategy game that you can play, and it's fun as a game. Again, I haven't played this, but I will be seeing James in a couple of weeks, and so and I'm sure that he'll bring it so I can play it. But because all of the characters are actual U.S. senators, by playing the game, you get to know some of the U.S. senators that you may or may not already know, and as part of their sort of mechanical characterization, their special abilities in the game, and their goals, and like winning conditions and that kind of thing, are all focused around like their actual value statements and political stances and pet issues and you know, those kinds of things. So it's a game for people who don't know the politics of the United States, who don't know sort of like their own representation in the United States legislature as well as they feel like maybe they should. But also that sounds like a terrible weekend to just like study up on who all of your senators are. So instead, play this card game. Anyway, I think that's an awesome idea. I love impact games like that are designed to be both fun and also, you know, to have some kind of educational impact. Okay. I think that's it. Thanks, guys. It's only 9:50. You know. Yeah. I'm loving Quadrilateral Cowboy. I can't wait to play more of it. I will do so next week. In the meantime, I'm going to go try to write a talk proposal. Wish me luck. Have a great night. Have a great week. See you on Monday for Mostly Walking. See you next Thursday for Play by Play. I hope everybody just has a lovely time between now and then. Have a good night.